Hey everyone, Meinke here from MLive&apos, joined by Justin Rogers after yet another Lions win, yet another fourth quarter comeback. Justin, this one 20-16 against the Dolphins, overcame a 3-point comeback in the end. It's almost feeling routine at this point for this team and Matthew Stafford, and got Calvin Johnson back this week, got Golden Tate back, full-fledged offense, still struggled, but same result.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think this game in a lot of ways played out the way I expected. I thought it'd be a low-scoring game. I thought the defenses would kind of dictate the pace. The Lions dominated a little bit more than I thought in this contest. If you look at the yardage totals, Dolphins were kind of rolling offensively coming into this one. They were held to 222 yards. That's without Nick Fairley, who, I'll admit, I thought was going to be one of the biggest blows that the Lions suffered all year. There was a stat out there that, teams were running much better against the Lions when he was off the field. I thought maybe the number one run defense was going to trip up a little bit against a good running team. I think, what did you say, 150 yards they were averaging?
I wrote it down. Dolphins were fifth in rushing at 137 yards a game, third in yards per carry at 4.8 per game. Lions held them to 50 yards and 2.6 per carry. That's outstanding.
Exactly. So, I mean, once again, Terrell Austin, give him all the game balls, just all of them. He's been fabulous.
We'll save one for Ndamukong Suh, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And Suh was pretty good.
Yeah, he came out of the gates today, but this was a very promising performance. You don't like the fact that the Lions didn't capitalize on a lot of scoring opportunities early in the game, but it's a better win top to bottom than the previous 2 weeks against New Orleans and Atlanta.
Well, my big takeaway was we were sitting there nearing halftime, and I remarked to you in the press box that it felt like the Lions should be up
30-0, I think you said.
30 points.
Yeah.
And they were up by 10 points at that point. It was 7. It was the final margin at halftime. And look, they had to come back and have conjure another fourth quarter comeback. I just don't feel like that should have been necessary in a game the defense handled so well. You had that fake punt that worked in the first quarter. You had a 15-yard drive, 15-play drive to open the game. Your defense gains really 20 yards of field position on the first 2 series, and yet you had to scratch and claw your way at the end. The Lions simply did not make enough plays offensively, and I think that's a big concern. I mean, they did have Calvin Johnson back this week. They had Golden Tate. Both those guys had more than 100 yards receiving. Theo Riddick was involved again. I mean, you had all these guys out there coming off the bye, and yet you still only managed 20 points. I know this is a good Dolphins defense, but at the same time, I need to see more from this offense, because this game shouldn't have been so hard to win.
Yeah, there was still like a lack of rhythm in the play calling. I thought the run game was more efficient this week. Both Bell and Bush averaged over 4 yards per carry. It's the first time we've seen anything like that this season. Matthew Stafford targeted quite a few guys. I think 7 different receivers caught passes. He targeted 8. So you like the way he spread the ball. And then, of course, your big guns got the big plays. It was Johnson and it was Tate, as you would expect with this offense. 20 points. It's still not there. There was turnover in the red zone, which I thought it was a good throw by Stafford. It was maybe a touch or throw. It was an amazing defensive play.
Yeah, I didn't think it was a great throw, but I didn't think it was a bad throw per se. It was a defensive player made a play. Sometimes that's going to happen in the NFL. And he's a good, Grimes is a great player.
And the bigger criticism is there was a wide open Jeremy Ross streaming down the middle of the field, but Calvin had ideal coverage there as one-on-one. You make that throw to your best receiver. That's just the way it works.
And it worked previously when on that 49-yard bomb to Calvin, he had him in one-on-one coverage on the same guy. And Stafford nailed him, and that was vintage Calvin. And it was good to see him back out there, and he really looked strong. And he said after the game he's still not 100%. I saw him leaving the locker room. He was the second to last guy to leave. Sorry, the third to last person to leave the locker room, and he was moving pretty slowly and looked like he just wasn't 100%. You expect most guys to be a little banged up after an NFL football game, but he's definitely not healthy. Still had 100 yards plus receiving. I thought was extremely effective.
Yeah, he admitted as much that the ankle was still bothering him, but I looked down there a lot, and he was beating the coverage, and we're talking good secondary players. Grimes is outstanding. Cortland Finnegan, maybe shaky at times, but still a pretty darn good cornerback. So, I don't think Johnson's ankle affected him during play, but it's something to watch as it continues to go forward. You'd like to see that continue to get healthier, but we've seen setbacks before.
Yeah. Sticking with the offense, the offensive line, I think, is going to be an issue going forward. You have injuries at both spots on the right side. Larry Warford suffered a left leg injury on the first series of the game. He left, didn't come back. It could be significant. Sure. He's going to undergo an MRI on Monday. He's expected to, and the Lions will get a better idea of what they're looking at after that. Adrian Waddle also left the game. I caught up with him in the locker room, and he really was not concerned at all. In fact, he wasn't even really hobbled. He had no brace or no kind of walking aid. I mean, he was fine. He said it was kind of a precaution to hold him out. But still, they lost both the guys on the right side. Played 2 rookies in the second half, and those are the things the Lions are gonna have to watch going forward, because injuries have been an issue for them.
I can't say how many times people have asked me whether Swanson was ready, and I've said no. I'll be honest. I've seen him in practice. I thought he was a little undersized, a little weak, a little slow. It's one of those things. He's just a rookie in the NFL. He's still got to adjust to the physical level of the competition. He acquitted himself today. He was, fabulous. You rarely saw him. When you rarely see a guy, he's playing well. Right tackle spot, I like Adrian Waddle. I think he's a good player, but availability is becoming an issue. It's a big issue.
He's missed 4 games already.
Yeah, and parts of others, he had a couple times last season where he left games for small stretches. And the more that happens, the less you can count on him, the more imperative it becomes that needs to be addressed in the future.
Moving to defense, 2 guys stood out to me, Ndamukong Suh and James Ahedibo. These guys just make plays. Starting with Suh, I thought, he had those first two plays of the game, 2-yard loss in the backfield, and then a sack.
Yep.
And he imposed his will throughout this game. And I look at this defense, and it's lost Nick Fairley in the middle. It's a defensive tackle. They've lost Stephen Tulloch in the middle, a linebacker. They've had injuries at the nickel. They've had all these injuries right through the middle of the defense, and yet it continues to produce. And Ndamukong Suh is the reason why. That guy draws so much attention and still produces. A great game for him today. I think this maybe was his most disruptive game of the season. And of course, James Ahedibo in the back end making plays as well. He continues to play well in the backfield, and of course had the interception and 70-some yard return. Guys are giving him a hard time in the locker room about getting caught by Ryan Tannehill, but besides that, another good, effective game from James Ahedibo.
Most of those guys would get, outside of maybe Darius Slade, most of those guys Ryan Tannehill is fast. I know obviously defensive players like to pick on him. That's a former wide receiver. He's fast. But back to Suh, pay the man, Martin. Just throw a blank check at him, to Jimmy Sexton, his agent, and just give him what he wants. He makes the defense go round. You can't get caught up in the numbers. It's the team that's paying him, and if you want this team to win when you come here and pay your good money to watch good football, and Ndamukong Suh is the key to that. And beyond those 2, there's 2 other guys. We almost just take Levy for granted at this point. There's another great game for him, another 11 tackle, broke up a pass in the end zone on 3rd down, and then
I was flabbergasted he didn't come up with the interception on that play.
Calvin Johnson rule.
Yeah.
And then Ezekiel Ansah, just continues to get a little bit better each week. Another 3 tackles for a loss. He punched out a fumble. I tweeted when that happened. Good defensive players are always thinking about the ways that they can, turn the ball over. And when a guy's wrapped up in a scrum there, take a swing at the ball, try to pop it loose. Good things happen when you take those chances. And that was an important turnover for the Lions. It gave them a little bit more momentum in the 3rd quarter, or took it away more so from the Dolphins. Doubling
back to Suh real quick, I'm totally with you. I think the Lions need to pay this guy. I see a lot of commenters on our website. I hear radio call-ins and all that stuff. A lot of fans are against it because of how much you're already paying Stafford and Calvin. And I get the numbers aren't pretty, but this guy is the bell cow of your defense. You take that one guy away, and there's going to be a trickle effect. I mean, that's the kind of effect this guy has. He's great in the sum of his parts. He impacts every single game and most plays, and you just can't afford, I think, to lose a guy like that. We're seeing that this year. The Lions keep losing guys, and this defense maintains its pace, and it's because Ndamukong Suh is so freaking good.
We've talked about the offense, we've talked about the defense, but this is a game we have to talk about the special teams. 2 fake punts. I mean, Jim Caldwell is about as conservative as they come when it comes to play calling. And, there's always a time and a place for a fake punt. And I thought that was a perfect play call, the first one. Second one, it just caught everyone so off guard to do it twice in a game. He said he can't remember a situation where he's done it. That's video game stuff.
Who was surprised by that second fake? Sam Martin. I talked to Sam Martin after the game. No, he did not have an ice pack on his arm. but Sam was surprised by that second call, and he's an aggressive. Sam likes to make plays, and so he was happy that it was called and was disappointed it didn't work out. But he said on that first play he was basically thrown into space on the Jed Collins play, and he had a good feeling if the ball was snapped that the play was going to be successful. But he was basically just throwing to a spot on the field, and Collins ran underneath it, and it was a beautiful play call. I'm more circumspect of the second one. I think that's really, it's going to the well one too many times. It's, once you run one fake in a game, the opponent has no choice but to be more alert for a fake going forward. So I thought maybe that was going to the well one too many times. But I was pleased to see Caldwell that aggressive. He also went for a 4th and 7 in the game around the 39 or 40 yard line, and I enjoyed that call as well, because that's a spot in the field where you see so many coaches punt, and they gain very little from punting at that point. So I was pleased to see Caldwell go for it.
Yeah, I'm always a fan of aggressive play calling. I think fortune favors the bold in the NFL, and I criticized Caldwell earlier in the season for the London game because I thought he was too conservative. He got away with it in that one, but this one I like to see that aggressiveness. It keeps opponents off balance more so with all of his play calling now. So it's going to pay dividends in the long run.
I see, you see so many guys play so conservative that spot in the field. And you just think about a team like the Lions. You're at about the 40-yard line, it's a 4th and 7. The best thing that's going to happen is you got a guy like Kelvin Johnson who can bust a play either for a first down or for a touchdown or whatever with one play. I mean, we saw with the 49-yarder, this guy can make plays. That's the upside. The biggest downside is you turn over the ball to your number 1 ranked defense around the 40-yard line. Like, when you have that's kind of the luxury of having a defense like this, is that you can be more aggressive. And I think the Lions, given the offensive personnel and guys like Kelvin and Golden Tate, they absolutely should, because those two guys are chain movers.
And credit John Bonamego. He identified something in film earlier in the week, and then the way Caldwell painted is he kind of nagged him all through the week. Like, if I see this and we're in the situation, we got to go for it. And he said he nagged him during practice, and he went after him in the game. And Caldwell said, sometimes I'll just say no, but I liked what he was pitching, and they went for it, and they went for it twice. And 1 out of 2's 2 on 2 is better, but 1 on 2 is fun.
Martin said that it wasn't a certainty going into this game that they would run the fakes, but that they had practiced them throughout the week, and it was definitely a certainty. And we saw them out there. For Dustin Rogers, I'm Kyle Meinke. We are MLive. Keep it right here.